My father was a priest. He'd served in the military before the church. He told me about it years later. He said he got a call from a police officer he knew. They'd responded to a noise complaint at a house just outside town. When they arrived, they found a group of men in their 20s, drunk, nervous, and in the middle of the room, an open Ouija board. By the time the police showed up, one of those men had already lost his mind. He had to be taken to a psychiatric hospital, where he stayed for nearly a year. The others refused to say what happened, only that they needed my father. He stepped into that house and instantly knew something was wrong. He said the air hit him first, still and suffocating, colder than any Alaskan winter night. Every corner seemed too dark. The kind of darkness you don't just see, you feel it. The young men wouldn't look at him, but he swore he could hear whispering, soft and overlapping, like a conversation just under the floorboards. And this was the part that scared him most. My father admitted he felt fear, real fear. Not the kind that keeps you alert, but the kind that tells you something is already too close. He opened the little prayer book he always carried and began to read. He told me the walls seemed to pulse, like the house itself was straining against his words. Pressure pushed down on him until every breath was a fight. The prayer ended, and it was like part of that weight lifted, but not all of it. He said it was like covering rot with paint. You can't see it anymore, but it's still eating everything underneath. Years later, before he died, he told me this: "If you ever take one piece of advice from me, take this. Never touch a Ouija board, not once. Whatever answered that night, it hasn't gone anywhere. It's still waiting." I went back home to the islands for my grandpa's funeral. A few of us, my pregnant cousin, my older brother, my sister and I, decided to try to talk to him. We never really believed in spirits or ghosts, but it felt like something we had to do. There were no Ouija boards anywhere on the islands. People were too superstitious, and the boards were considered dangerous. So instead, we made one ourselves out of cardboard and a magnifying glass. The night after the funeral, we walked down to the beach behind my grandma's house. The moon was low, and the tide whispered against the sand. We sat in a circle, placed the makeshift board on the ground, and started calling out. At first, we were joking, asking if Elvis or Michael Jackson could speak to us, laughing, not expecting anything to happen. Then we asked for my grandpa. The air tightened around us. The atmosphere grew heavy and cold, not a usual night on the islands. Slowly, the magnifying glass started to move on its own. It slid toward the letter S, almost too deliberate to be random. We didn't say a word. Suddenly, my grandma came running down the hill. Her face was pale, eyes wide with terror.
"What have you done?"
She screamed, grabbing and shaking us, hitting us as if trying to wake us from a nightmare. We were stunned, too scared to answer. We thought maybe it was just her grief and fear, but the weight of it settled on us like a fog. The very next night, my cousin, who'd been so excited about the whole thing, had a miscarriage. I don't know if it was coincidence or some dark consequence of what we started on that beach. But looking back, there's no doubt in my mind we disturbed something we shouldn't have. I haven't touched any Ouija boards since, and every time I'm near water or the ocean, I remember that night. The way the air shifted, the movement of that glass, and my grandma's terrified screams. Some things are not meant to be called back, and some spirits don't just want to speak, they want to stay. I grew up in a rural part of Alaska. My friend Nikki lived in a half-collapsed trailer out past the trees. The place was always freezing, the pipes never worked, and the windows had thick layers of ice on the inside. Her mum worked nights at a bar that didn't close until early morning, so Nikki was often alone. We were only about 14. One night, one of Nikki's boyfriends brought over a Ouija board. Everyone crowded around it in the living room. They tried to act brave, laughing too loudly each time the planchette moved. I was too scared to even try. I never did stuff like Bloody Mary, so I slipped into the small back room where they kept the rabbits. Nikki's younger sister came with me, and we sat together reading in the dim light. The rabbits shifted around in their cages, twitchy but quiet. The shrieks from the other room didn't bother us much at first. Then Nikki came in grinning like she'd just won a dare. She held the Ouija board under her arm, and in her other hand, a small rabbit. Still laughing, she set it directly on the board. For a few seconds, it froze in place. Its sides rose and fell fast. Then it toppled over onto its side. Silence hung in the room before Nikki shrieked again, this time less certain. The rabbit didn't move. It was dead. Everyone said rabbits can die of fright, that their hearts just stop. But the timing was too perfect. They had been asking the board to prove itself, to show its strength. Nikki swore she didn't think anything would happen, swore up and down even years later, but she insists whatever answered them did exactly what they asked. I panicked. I told my mom to come pick me up, or else I'd walk the frozen road home, moose or no moose. I didn't sleep that night. After that, I stayed away from Nikki's trailer for months. Only when summer came and the sun lingered all through the night did I work up the courage to go back. And even then, I refused to visit in the winter darkness again. That trailer still feels wrong in my memory, like whatever came out of that board never really left. On weekends, I would stay at my mum's house. My parents divorced when I was very young, and both my mum and I had already experienced strange things in her home. So when I found an old Ouija board, I told my friends we should play it there on Halloween. I didn't tell my mum, because I knew she'd be furious. We set up the board that night. Nothing really happened while we played. The planchette moved a little, but we all kept accusing each other of pushing it. Then my mum walked in and caught us. She was furious, yelling at us to get that damn thing out of her house immediately. She wasn't joking. Afterward, I gave the board to my boyfriend, and that seemed like the end of it. But it wasn't. After that night, all kinds of strange things began happening in the house. I'd wake up in the middle of the night to the sound of my mum's TV blasting. I'd go back to turn it off, and it was never even on. That happened more than once. We also had this antique lamp that would turn on and off by touch, with 3 different brightness levels. After Halloween, it started changing by itself, flicking brighter or shutting off for no reason at all. One evening, while my mum was out at the grocery store, I was in the kitchen talking with a friend who often stayed over. It was dark outside just after 6 in the winter. I don't remember the exact conversation, but she asked, "Aren't you afraid of it hearing you?" I laughed and said, "What, the ghost?" "Nah. After a while, you kind of get used to it." The moment I finished those words, the lights went off, on, off, then back on again, not once, but twice. We both screamed, grabbed our coats, and waited on the porch until my mum got back. The worst came later. I woke up again in the night because I thought my mum's TV was blaring. Just like always, I went to shut it off, but it wasn't on. I went to the bathroom, and as I sat down, I noticed something by the bathtub. A shimmer in the air, exactly like heat waves rising off asphalt in summer, squiggling and shifting right in front of me. I reached out. The air there was hot, burning warm, but only in that one spot. At the same time, I heard the sound of the TV again. I panicked and ran back to the living room couch where I slept. The digital clock glowed, 3:04 a.m. That meant everything I had just seen happened right at 3 a.m. I prayed harder that night than almost any other time in my life. I was 16, and my life was falling apart. I've always believed in the occult, ghosts, spirits, demons. I had collected Ouija boards, convinced I could talk to the dead. For months, I used them nightly, asking questions no one should be asking. And then the darkness started creeping in. It began with thoughts, horrible, violent ones. Suicide, murder, torture. The kind of thoughts that didn't belong to me. They weren't mine, but they wouldn't go away. I washed my hands until they bled, trying to feel clean from what was happening inside my head. I was spiraling. I finally told my mum, and she made me see a doctor. He prescribed Prozac and told me to see a shrink. I wanted to believe it was just mental illness. I wanted to. But then I stumbled across something that changed everything. An article on demonic oppression. It wasn't possession. It was worse. It was the idea of something circling you, poisoning your mind, waiting until you're weak enough to drag further in. Every word perfectly described what I was going through. And the number one way people brought this into their lives: Ouija boards. I panicked. I destroyed my boards, smashed them into pieces, separated them, and put each in its own bag so they could never touch again. I left them in the trash, waiting for garbage day. When the truck came, I remembered I had to throw out the cat litter. I grabbed the bag and ran downstairs. That's when I saw him. My dad was standing at the bottom of the stairs, smirking at me. "Cleaning up cat shit again?" He laughed, mocking me in the exact way he always did. I didn't make eye contact. I brushed past him, shoved the bag into the bin, and watched the truck haul away the Ouija remains. When I came back inside, the house was silent. Too silent. "Dad?" I called out. No answer. 15 seconds later, my mum came through the front door from work. "Where's Dad?" I asked. She frowned. "What do you mean? He's not home yet. He had to stop at the store." "Ah." My blood went cold. "No," I whispered. "I just saw him. I talked to him." "That's impossible," she said. "I was just on the phone with him at the grocery store." I grabbed the phone and dialed. He picked up. He was still at the store. He hadn't been home. But I know what I saw. The face, the voice, the way he mocked me down to the smallest detail. It was my father. Except it wasn't. That was the last time it ever touched my life. After the garbage truck took those boards, everything stopped. Just like that. Overnight. But I still wonder to this day, what would I have seen if I had made eye contact with that thing, the one wearing my dad's face? When my extended family came to town, I went to my uncle's house. He's always hunting garage sales and had picked up an old Ouija board. My mum used one when she was a teenager, and she warned me about the experience. Her story still haunts me. Her friend's baby had died suddenly a few months before they played with the board. They asked how the baby died. The planchette moved to the letters M-A, then back M-A, spelling out M-A-M-A. They froze. They didn't know then, but Mama is a well-known Ouija board demon. As they kept asking questions, the spirit got vulgar. When they asked if my mum and dad would marry, it snapped back.
Fuck him.
It spelled things no one there should have known. Terrified, my mum and her friends buried the board right after. Fast forward about 22 years, and here I was, at my uncle's house with that same board. My mum was nervous, and so was I, but curiosity pulled me in. We started playing, just the two of us with others nearby. We asked random questions, then some that only others in the room knew. The board answered correctly every time. I was both terrified and drawn in. I asked what my future career would be. It spelled Walmart, but oddly, with one L, not two, which neither my mum nor I ever spell it. I worked there. Then I asked about my Aunt Pam's favourite band. The board started spelling F-U-C-K. That's when I let go of the planchette. I knew then it wasn't a friendly spirit. I asked who it was. It spelled out Leviathan. I wanted to stop, but I had one last question. "What do you want?" The answer? Tree Fiddy. I was terrified. I threw the board into the fire straight away. That was the scariest experience of my life. It pushed me to research everything about these boards. I don't recommend anyone ever use one. Despite being made by a toy company, it feels like an open door to hell. Demons and ghosts need consent to contact you, and playing is giving it. If you value your peace of mind, stay far away. I was in high school when it happened. There were 5 of us hanging out in one friend's basement. It wasn't a small basement either. It had a living room, a bathroom, a workshop, and even bedrooms, comfortable and safe. At least it felt that way before the board came out. One of the girls had brought a Ouija board as a joke. We'd been outside smoking before, locked the thick back door like always, making sure all 3 locks were turned. Her dad was careful. It was a deadbolt on deadbolt kind of house. We all knew it was locked. We sat around the table, put our fingertips on the planchette, and asked stupid questions. At first it slid a little, but it didn't answer anything. We laughed nervously, but no one took it seriously. Then one of us asked if any spirits wanted to let us know they were here. That's when it happened. The locked door slammed open with a crack that echoed through the basement. It flew open so hard, the handle punched into the wall and left a mark. At the exact same time, the lights flickered violently. The TV shut off. We all froze, staring at the open doorway that should have been impossible. A door with 3 locks. 3 had just opened like nothing was holding it. The storm outside rattled against the house just enough to make it worse. It wasn't a big storm, not where we lived, but thunder rolled low outside, and the wet air slipped into the room through that open door. Nobody moved for a long time. Then we scrambled, shoving the board back into its box, locking the door again, checking and rechecking each bolt. No one wanted to wonder what could force it open. We all ended up sleeping in the same room that night. The couch, the floor, anywhere we could cram ourselves together. Every single light in the house stayed on until morning. No one slept well. The silence was heavy, broken every so often by someone shifting, pretending they weren't listening for footsteps. It's been years since that night, but I'll never touch a Ouija board again. Sometimes, late at night, I still hear the sound, the slam, the flicker of the lights, the hum of the basement turning dark, and I wonder if whatever opened that door ever left. When I was 14 or 15, my best friend and I got a Ouija board. Right away, we started communicating with a spirit who called herself Mama. She answered all our silly teenage questions, like who Nadia had a crush on and where our future honeymoon would be. For a while, it was mostly harmless fun. But then, Mama got bored. She started calling us bitch. That was deeply upsetting since we were Mormon at the time. After that, she went crazy on the board, moving the planchette back and forth in figure 8s until we put the board away. After that, every time we pulled out the board, the conversation would start with some random spirit, quiet and normal, until Mama interrupted. She'd rapidly repeat, "Mama, mama, mama, mama," spinning the planchette wildly between the sun and moon symbols and throwing out all kinds of colorful insults. This went on for a long time. Finally, we decided to try and exorcise whatever was haunting the board. We searched online and found rituals involving juniper candles, but we settled for fruity bath and bodyworks candles because that's what we had. We gathered a few Bibles, books of Mormon, and even a framed picture of the Mormon prophet at the time. We set everything up, Ouija board balanced a few inches above a Bible, candles flickering, and the prophet watching silently. We read some incantation that now seems like pure nonsense. From the start, Mama was furious. She screamed, "Mama, mama, mama, mama," so fast it nearly threw the planchette off the board. Then she cursed for the first time, throwing out fucks and cunts. The planchette whipped around in wild spirals like she was trying to claw her way out. Up until that point, I might have thought it was just 2 scared, impressionable teens caught up in the moment. But then, the light bulb exploded. At the exact moment, the planchette stopped its frantic dance. The bulb shattered, showering the room with shards of glass. I have no explanation for how or why it happened, but I still think about that night every time I see a Ouija board. Over a decade ago, when I was 17, I went to a friend's house for a Halloween party. We had a Ouija board, but everyone was too drunk to take it seriously, so we decided to meet up again another day, sober and open-minded, to try it properly. There were a lot of us that night, and we took turns using the board so it wasn't crowded. At one point, I thought I was speaking to a family member, but then the tone shifted, the responses sharper, colder. A name spelled itself out. Baal. I had never heard the name before. Later, I searched it and learned it was the name of a demon. Even though we had all grown up in Catholic school, none of us cared about religion, and nobody knew demon names. That moment unsettled everyone. When one girl got sick and suddenly could barely stay awake, we ended the session. We laughed it off, called it a strange experience, but for me, it didn't end there. I kept playing. With 2 close friends, I began using the board regularly. We spoke with supposed spirit guides and random spirits. Baal appeared often, uninvited. My guides told me I had a gift for exorcising bad spirits, that Baal hated me because I was part of a bigger spiritual fight, something waiting for me after death. They said the demon wanted me to kill myself, to take me out before I had a chance to matter. It sounded insane, but it gave me purpose. That's why I kept going back. There was one session I will never forget. A friend who had grown sensitive to the emotions of spirits wanted to try. The plan was to help someone trapped move on. We had done it before. Instead, we contacted something that was not what it claimed to be. It spoke like a girl in pain. But then I felt it. A piercing scream exploded right in my right ear, so loud and sudden that I nearly pulled my hand away from the board. My chest tightened. I told my friend this wasn't friendly. The next scream came sharper, more distant, but still inside my head. At the same instant, a searing pain pulsed in my skull, exactly like the agony of brain freeze, but worse, deeper. That was always the feeling I got near demons. We tried desperately to drive it away. The board jerked and stalled under our hands. Nothing worked. Finally, shaken and exhausted, we just stopped. Out of all my experiences, that night was the one that scared me most. It was the only time I ever heard something scream inside me. The only time I thought without doubt that I wasn't just talking to shadows. At a party one night, someone brought out a Ouija board. I was paired with a shy girl who liked me. As we held our hands on the planchette, letters started to spell out a name. M-A-R-Y. The house had belonged to the Hutchinson family. Mary was their daughter, who died of leukemia just 6 months before. I was the only one there who knew about her. Then the board spelled G-I-M-M-E. That word sent a chill straight through me. The last time I saw Mary, I brought her mother's chicken casserole. She was starving and could only say, "Gimme," as she ate it. In the dark room, lit only by a nightlight, I looked up, and there she was. Mary, pale and small, wearing a tattered white dress. She held out her hand and said, "Gimme!" She wasn't a shadow or some ghostly shape. I saw her clearly, as if she were right in front of me. The girls screamed, some thinking it was a joke, but when they realized it wasn't, panic spread. They huddled together while I sat frozen, hands on the board. "Gimme!" I tried to stay calm. "Give you what?" She stepped closer, hands still outstretched. "Gimme!" "I brought food once," I told her. "You were hungry, but you can't eat now." "Gimme!" "Food won't help. There's nothing I can give you." "Gimme!" "Please, tell me what you want." Those were the only words she said.